Okay, so a short segment we're trying to add every month just in what's blooming. And again, we're featuring some of our ephemeral wildflowers, which are the first ones that come up. They come and go relatively quickly. I think they're just soldiers, the way they come up out of the cold ground in between the leaves, and they just signal that spring is right around the corner. And these are two that you'll find out now, the Sweet Betsy Trillium. If you don't have it by you, it's at Sally Doss, and it's also along Grandview Trail, just volumes. And then they're beautiful. They're blooming. They look like that. And the chickweed, which is so small and delicate, it's I hate that it's got the term weed in the name because that doesn't really do it justice. It's a beautiful little flower. So those are some things along with others that are blooming now. I also wanted to make sure that you were aware, some folks years ago, Edie Stevens, Wayne Collier, I'm not sure who all contributed to this, but there was a plant database that was created with pictures that were taken right here in Bentry of wildflowers and other things you'll see throughout the year, along with the location of where they were found, which gives you a clue as to where to look for it. And it is on our website. If you navigate to the Bentry members website, find Lake and Wildlife, find Forest Conservation, and you'll see this database. And you click on View the Database, and you can see those pictures. And so it's a great resource. It's fairly dated. I mean, it was done a while back, but it's still so applicable, especially if you're not familiar with these wildflowers, to see what they look like. All right, now we're jumping into our presentation for the day. We're going to start with Patrick. Tom, are you going to introduce him, or is he taking it away? All right, here you go, Patrick. Thank you. All right.
Good morning, everybody. Oh, can you hear me okay? Yeah? I see some familiar faces. I know I haven't met everybody yet. My name is Patrick Higgins. I'm your new golf professional, and this is very new to me. So I've come from courses that haven't had as many groups. There's a lot of groups here that I'm still trying to get used to. So you're gonna have to bear with me. I'm still trying to figure it all out. So I've been mainly just golf, and now I'm trying to figure out the rest of it. But thank you all for coming down to the shop and coming to introduce yourselves and talk to me and introduce yourselves. So just a little bit about me. I'm from Ireland, in case you didn't know that already. I am not putting this accent on just to schmooze some people. I actually have this accent and I'm stuck with it for life, it seems like. It's rubbing off on my kids too, so that's good. Yeah, originally from Ireland, went to college back home in Ireland and moved over here in 2008. I met a girl from Macon, Georgia, who's a mix between Northwest Ohio and Macon, Georgia. So we lived in Ohio for a little bit and did not like the cold weather, so we decided to move south and get some warmer weather. Although I kind of second-guessed myself this morning when I walked in here and it was absolutely freezing. I about buckled over with the cold weather. But yeah, I love it down here. Been down here now for 12 years and just really enjoying it. Worked in Atlanta for a little bit at Ansley Golf Club, and then Setting Down Golf Club as well there in Roswell, and moved up to Dahlonega about 5 years ago. Worked at Tom's old stomping ground there at the Shasta Golf Club, and then it was time to make a move and came over here to Bentry. So I've been, when people talk to me, they're like, how did you end up here? It's like, well, let me tell you, it's a long story, but yeah, so that's basically me. I've played golf my whole life, and I've been around golf, and I'm really excited to be here and to help out in any way I can. So basically, I guess my role this morning is to just kind of talk a little bit about what has been presented to us, and I know there's been something in the past. I'm still learning, but wanted to reinforce what we're basically trying to talk about here. Let's see what I've got in the next slide. So my bio, and then so in your rules and regulations, you've got in section M9, walking on the car paths. There'll be no jogging, no running on the car paths during the hours that the pro shop is open. Walkers may walk during these hours, but only with the golf shop, the golf professional's approval. These restrictions shall not apply to a golfer walking while playing golf or persons with the golfers. So basically all we're trying to say is, and you may know this already, but when you're walking the golf course, just pay attention to what's going on. No running or jogging, just There's so many golfers out at some times, but then there's times when there's hardly any golfers out there. So if you just call the shop ahead of time and just talk with me or Bob or whoever's in the shop, we can give you a good idea of who's on the course, where to go, what holes are maybe off limits due to some construction. John Leach, is John here this morning? No? John Leach had just talked about if the course is wet and he's coming down the cart path and you're walking, just step aside for him to pass by if he's got a dump truck or something that's heavy. He does not want to get out on the grass and tear up the grass. Out of courtesy he probably will, but if you wouldn't mind just letting him have the right of way if ever he's got heavy machinery. That's the only reason he's asked me to he doesn't want to tear up the grass and just kind of look after the golf course. Basically, what we're trying to say is just have common sense on the golf course. I know you all know it. If I'm trying to get the golfers in line with hitting the golf ball straight, but they just won't listen to me half the time. I mean, they got this curve going left and right, and I tell them, I say, why do you want to go in the trees all the time? If you're out there and you're walking, just keep an eye on the golfers. If you have some cover nearby, that's great, because I mean, you just never know what's going to happen. So we do have some waivers. They look like this. I know. We're not asking you to sign your life away, but it's just basically if you're out on 15, hole number 15, it's a long way from the shop. So we're asking that you don't get into it with the golfers, and the golfers don't get into it with you. So it's both on the same side, really. We just want you to know that we're trying to cover you. Okay, there are possibilities of having an accident out there. If we know you're out there and there's nobody on the golf course, there's nobody playing, and we haven't seen you come back, then we're going to go out and check on you, because if it's cold and it's wet and there's sleet and snow out there, that's stuff we got to know about, because we don't want people just getting out there and not telling us. I always tell people I like to know who's on the golf course. I like to know what's going on the golf course, whether it's golfers or whether it's people walking. That way we can look out for your safety and make sure, because I know there's bears up here. I haven't seen any, but that's what I hear. So, I mean, that's another thing. I don't even know how to handle a bear if it came near me, so I might just yell at it or something, I guess. I don't know. So we're just basically asking, always walk against the flow of golf backwards on the course. I mean, we kind of do the same thing when cars are driving. We walk towards the car driving towards us instead of... That way you can see what's coming towards you. You can see if they might not notice you, and then that way you can see them. They might not be able to see you, and then that way you can take cover if they have that errant shot that I'm trying to fix. I'll have to just charge more money, I guess. Yeah, so inform the golf shop. Golfers have the right of way. Stand aside when they're hitting. Pay attention. Avoid wearing earbuds, just because, again, just trying to pay attention. If you don't hear them, they don't hear you, or vice versa. And the liability waiver I have right here, I'll have that in the shop, and the maintenance vehicles as well. Don't end up like this. That's what we don't want this. This is not good. This is one of the lighter versions. My dad actually got hit in the eye one time from another golfer, so that his vision was blurred for a long, long time. So I'm not going to pronounce all of these, but this is what we have on the golf course. I'm a grass guy, so the Bermuda Bent and Zoysia grass, I've got those at home. You wouldn't like my grass as a golf professional, because it's got so many different strands of grass in one area just to cover it up. But the plants, the azaleas, I mean, look at the Masters coming up, so everybody loves azaleas. We'll see those popping up here soon, I'm sure. Dogwood trees, one of my favorite trees. Japanese maple, the magnolias. I don't know much about the other ones. I'm sure, Dara, you could probably educate me there on those.
Leash, right, Tom? John wanted to make sure that we had a list of what sort of plants you could expect to see on the golf course, so appreciate that.
Yeah, it's a beautiful walk. I mean, this is probably one of the most beautiful golf courses I've come across. Just the views are spectacular, and even just coming in here today, looking out across the mountain there, is just absolutely beautiful. So I'm sure you all appreciate that, and I certainly do, for sure. There's hole number 7. That's our signature hole. Such a beautiful view there at Sharp Top. And is that Little Sharp Top in the back, or Sharp Top? Sharp Top, okay. That's number 10 right there. Number 17 right there. So that's just a few pictures of the golf course, and I will leave it up to the next person. If anybody has any questions for me, I'm more than happy to ask or answer your questions. I do have an open door policy, so I'm in the golf shop most times, and if I'm not giving a lesson, yes. The shop right now is 7 to 6, 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. So that's why we ask if you call us. There's days when there's nobody in the golf course. Dog walkers. I would imagine the only thing that we can ask about dog walkers is just to pick up after. If they make a mess, pick up after. And the leash rules, okay, yeah. Golf lessons. I wasn't expecting to advertise, but yes, I have golf lessons. If anybody wants to come out and improve the golf game, more than happy to help you in any way possible. I worked on Dan O'Connor there yesterday. My goodness, he was hard work yesterday. Yeah, so I have 15 minutes with anybody that wants to come down and chat and just have me analyze your golf game. Or if you want to just have a cup of coffee with me, I'm more happy to do that too. So, yes.
As one Irishman to another, how did you get such an English name like Higgins?
I'll have to go back a few hundred years, I guess. I'll blame Oliver Cromwell for that one, I guess. Yes. Yes, if you plan on walking after 6, still give the shop a call. I mean, if you make that decision after 6 o'clock, we can't. I mean, we're not going to find out. But we would like to know if you make that decision before 6 o'clock, just because we're going to record numbers on how many people walk the golf course this year. It's great to have numbers. I'm a numbers guy, so when it comes to the golf shop, when it comes to the golf course, when it comes to the lessons, I like to know all these numbers. And then I'm sure Tom and the board and Lake and Wildlife, you'd like to know how many people are using the golf course. I mean, I think that's something that you never know where you're going unless you know where you came from. So I think numbers speak for themselves. Yeah. Yes, I'll win it back.
Are you going to hang around a bit after the meeting? I need help with the master's pool.
Okay, yes, that is absolutely something that's on our mind. I've got a lesson at 10:30, so I'll probably leave at about 10:20 or 10:25. But I can meet you in the golf shop if you want to come down, or if you want to talk to me here before I leave, I can certainly do that. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Is that it? Is that good? Yeah. Did I do okay? Thank you.
I'd like to reinforce one of the points that Patrick made, and that is that we do want to keep numbers about how frequently the cart paths are used for walkers. And so if you go before hours, after hours, shoot an email over to the pro shop, right, Tom? Isn't that just shoot an email and say, hey, 4 of us went walking, or I walked myself, or whatever, just like we know how frequently the course is used for rounds of golf, we'll know how frequently walkers use the paths. And that sort of information guides decisions about how all of our amenities are managed. And so it's just good information for the Bentry management to have, that we understand the usage. So shoot emails, give calls, just share information. Yeah, and don't be that guy, right? Don't be that guy. All right, so next we have Laurel Lundsford, who's the Lake and Wildlife Trails Subcommittee lead, and she's going to talk about the trails here in Bentry. Thanks, Laurel.
Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
As Dara said, I'm Laurel Lundsford. I've been here in Bentry about 4.5 years, and help out on Lake and Wildlife as the Trail Committee chairperson. So here to talk to you today just a little bit more about our trails that we have to offer here in Bentry. Hopefully you can start getting out and enjoying the spring weather on some of our trails. Get used to the clicker. The Trail Subcommittee, our purpose is to assist Bentry in preserving the trails within the community. So we monitor the trails, organize maintenance. Just, please contact me if you're out on one of our trails and, you see a tree down, you see any maintenance that's needed, notify us, and then we can come up with a group and get out and, keep our trails maintained. We also organize pretty much about quarterly trail cleanups, getting out, putting mulch on trails, cleaning up leaf litter, clearing down trees, that sort of thing. We've also got the trail sign sponsorship program. We began that in 2019. Every 3 years, the trail sponsorships renew. So this is our renewal year. All signs already spoken for, but we are starting a waiting list. So if anybody's interested in a sponsorship, that's a 3-year sponsorship for $400, and you get your name on a plaque with the trail sign, and that just helps pay for maintenance on the signs themselves and other needed maintenance of the trails. So here's kind of an aerial overview of trails within the community. We've got Denny Ridge, Beaver Run, Sally Doss, and Memorial Trail. Those are our kind of current 4 main official Bent Tree trails. We also have the Quarry Rim Trail noted on this map, and that's kind of a nice little picnic area if you haven't been there by the Quarry Pond. This is jumping around. Beaver Run Trail is kind of the first trail we're going to talk about today. It's located by the beach at the Beach Pavilion. It begins there and runs along the lake, and then turns and goes up the creek here, up Long Swamp Creek. And it starts out kind of an easy trail, and becomes a little more moderate as you turn up the creek and head by the Rolling Falls. Oh, there we go. Sorry.
I'm sorry if I put them in the wrong.
Okay, yeah, there we go. Yeah, so here you can see where it starts down by the beach and runs along the lake, and heads all the way up to Tamarack Drive at the other end. So once you hit Tamarack Drive, then if you turn around and come back, it's about a full mile round trip. Wouldn't be called Beaver Run without some good beaver activity. This was a really big tree, and it was fun just to get out, kind of once a week and check on the tree, and he eventually felled the whole tree and cut it down. So got some pretty active beavers in the community.
When was that taken?
That was maybe 6 months ago, 6 or 7 months ago. So, and Beaver Run, just some beautiful wildflowers along the way, wild iris, the little bluets. I've seen trout lilies out there too. It's a really, pretty natural walk, a lot of mountain laurels, some nice benches you can stop and relax on and see the falls along the way too. Our next trail is Sally Doss. This is a half-mile circle trail. It's right along the lake just before you get to the beach area. It's our easiest trail, and it's our most maintained trail, typically mulched on the trail paths, and just a nice kind of easy circle walk to take. There are 2 parking areas for Sally Doss. There's the lower Sally Doss parking area off to the right, and the upper Sally Doss parking area as well. And as you walk along Lake Tamarack, there are some nice benches to stop and look at the lake, as well as Sally Doss's former homestead, where we have the chimney that's still standing. It's pretty neat little historic area for the community. I think Sally Doss lived from the 1840s to early 1915 or so. So that chimney's been there for a long time, and Lake and Wildlife volunteers helped kind of preserve the chimney last year and do some structural improvements on that. So we hope to have it around for years to come.
I have a question.
Sure.
The new walkway, is it going to encompass the lower Sally Doss, or is it just going out straight to a platform and back?
So right now, it's and we're going to get to that. But quickly, right now, it's phase 1, and it is just sort of a pathway out to a walkway and back. We do have potential plans for a phase 2 that would extend that. So, and Sally Doss has some beautiful daffodil stands in front of the old home site there, as well as the fishing docks and picnic tables to get out and enjoy that area. This is a picture of some of our volunteers at one of our recent trail cleanup days. Thanks, Dan. Just helping put some mulch out that day. And this is the location of our all-access walkway that was just brought up. So that's under construction, and even some more activity since about a week ago when I put these pictures in here. This is concrete being poured for the accessible parking spot there right at the beginning of the raised walkway. And this is really a kind of a neat joint venture between residents, BTCI, the foundation, just a lot of helpful donations from the whole community to bring this neat project all together. We've got the footers going in and the walkway beginning, and if you've gone by there this week, there's a lot more activity since then, so we're making really good progress. And it's designed for everyone to enjoy. Wheelchairs, with strollers, with walkers, so just to allow everybody to get out and enjoy our trail areas. Next trail is Forever Memorial. This is past the dam by the spillway area. It's about a 3/4 mile round trip, but this one you can sort of make as long or short as you want. It's a 120-foot elevation gain. We still have it rated as an easy trail because that main gain is right there at the falls, right where you begin, and then it's a pretty easy walk the rest of the way. It begins at our Memorial Gardens, which is a pretty area, planted area with the memorials there. As you walk down from the beginning of the trail, you see the waterfall overlook below the lake, the big waterfall. There's a nice bench there. And then you can kind of continue. If you keep to the left, that's the walking path over a little bridge and along. If you continue to the right, that is our horse path. So be careful if you stay to the right on the horse path. And if you want to make this a longer walk, the small walking path does combine with the horse trail. So you will be looking out for the horses there and sharing the road. Just some other pretty pictures. I know I like to walk all of our trails during the different seasons. They all look so different. Nice to see the spring wildflowers and, then all the leaves changing colors in the fall. It's just nice areas to get out. So if you continue, when it joins the horse path, you'll pass the Bentry Stables up on your right and eventually Pendley Creek, which is off-site of Bentry, but the farm there as well. And if you really want to continue, it turns into kind of an older logging road, and ultimately you'll wind up at the back gate. So, next trail is Denny Ridge. This is our most strenuous trail. It's about, if you go about 1.1 miles out Denny Ridge, you will get to the trailhead. There are two trail signs. If you pass the first one to the second one, there is a small parking area there that we ask you to park at and kind of begin your hike there. It sort of makes a horseshoe around the falls here, and it's about a 3/4 mile if you complete the entire loop. It is a 230-foot elevation gain, and it's quite a challenging gain. So. Whoop. It does. If you just want to walk in to see the falls themselves, you can get to the bottom of the falls pretty quickly and easily. There is a nice bench there as well to sit and relax and view the falls. And if you want to continue and make the full loop, that's where it does become very rocky and quite steep pretty quickly as you climb up to the top of the falls. There are some other nice benches along the way, a good one at the top that I have definitely used to stop and rest over the falls. And then you can continue down the other side of the falls, which does get covered in a lot of leaf litter over the year, and we do try and clean that up, but it can be slippery, so do be careful as you're walking down that trail. And then residents have asked, and folks have been interested in a longer trail system. And this has been kind of a vision of some longtime residents in Bentry for a while, and it's finally kind of coming to fruition. So we are working on developing a long trail system in Bentry, 5+ miles, with prospect to add on additional trails to that. So the area is at the end of Chestnut Cove, right here, and that's below the Monument Falls area. So if you're familiar with Monument Falls, way up top on the mountain, this is a pretty rustic and challenging trail area made from the old logging roads up there. The star on the map is a piece of property generously donated by the Dara family so that we have a trailhead area and parking area to develop here and really start this trail. So we want to thank them for that.
Yes, Linda's here today. Yes. Laurel.
Yes.
Sorry. I took my sister-in-law out there last weekend. We hiked up to where, as much as there.
Mm-hmm.
And it is going to be gorgeous. It's just so nice. I'm really excited.
It's a beautiful area and really remote, kind of gets you out there, and a lot of elevation gain and some pretty creek crossings.
Is there a trail there now, or it's going to be a trail?
So it's going to be a trail, but basically developed from the old logging roads that are already there. So you can kind of see here the planned area for it and of the old logging roads. And you see our donated BTCI lot now. The logging road does go off the lot currently onto another resident's property. So we're working to reroute just the entry to the trail to keep that off any private property. And
That's been changed as of now. So they can go ahead and walk. We got the walkway down there. So you can start walking the outside to go on the other property.
already rerouted. And this is just kind of a little design drawing showing that with our parking area planned at the bottom, where the trail has been rerouted to keep it on the new lot. And then where it will intersect again with the logging trail and continue on.
I would say there's, what we're planning are 3 parking spaces there, and there's not roadside parking really. So, when you go up there, if you're going with friends, don't say, let's all meet there. Say, let's meet at the tavern and ride together, or something like that, because there's not a lot of accommodation for too many cars. There's only for 3.
And this is going to be our rustic trail system, so we're not planning a lot of maintenance or upkeep. It's kind of a use at your own risk. We will upkeep the parking area and trail entry point, and then markers along the way. Currently it's just marked with flagging tape as we continue to work on kind of development and best plans. Rick?
When you say by shoreline, that this is just under development, so it's...
Yes, early stages.
Do you have the address of the location for us GPS users?
I do not. It's at the end of Chestnut Cove.
My address is 1354 Chestnut Cove.
Okay.
They're past the little brown house.
1354 Chestnut Cove, just past that on the right.
It starts right at the turnabout, the circle. You'll see it off on the right-hand side. It has some yellow tape. It's marked where you can go. But you just need to be aware where you park if you go down early, because we don't have a parking lot marked yet. And the neighbors, when they have to back out, if you park your car along the road, it might get hit. So please don't interfere with their backing out of their driveways, because it's a very narrow area. So just beware where you park.
And just a reminder for everybody to get out and enjoy our bent tree trails with your family, friends, four-legged friends. Thank you. Dan, take it away.
You want me to introduce you?
I'm sorry.
Sorry. Next, to conclude our program, we have Jan Jeffcoat from the Bentry Hiking Club, who will be talking to us about hiking in general and some of the associated trails or surrounding trails in the Bentry general area. Thanks, Jan.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. It looks like it would be a great day to hike, don't you agree? Again, my name's Jan Jeffcoat, and what I want to do is just inform you on my journey to hiking. We lived in South Georgia prior to Bentry, and we lived in a flat area. So when we moved up here, I had trouble going up the driveway. I mean, and I think y'all know what I'm talking about. So for me to be out and hike and backpack, I've been on a journey, and especially at my age, okay? So many of us are what I would consider a mature hiker. That's what I call myself. So I'm just going to tell you about my journey and maybe how I joined up with other mature hikers. I see some in the audience, and we've gotten out on the trail. I am not a speaker. I'm just a hiker. 6 years ago, again, we moved to Bentry, and I had walked previously, but what I tried to do is just get out on these roads and add a little hills to my walk as I went. I also had to kind of monitor my knees and my hips and inflammation. You know how all that is. So it's a balance. You got to get out there and you've got to get your stamina up, but you also can't do too much. So just, that's how I started, slow. Currently now I am a co-leader of the Bentry Hiking Club along with Dick Kilpatrick. And I just want to give a shout out to many of you that are here in the room today that led this previously. I think Eldon and Linda and John and Carol and Robert Calhoun and Janet, and then we have the Benders that are always there hiking. Because this club has been together for, I don't know, John probably could tell me, probably 20 years? More than that, okay? So as time evolved, we have different people that have taken on the leadership, and I'm just one of those that has done that. I'm also a member of the Georgia Appalachian Trail Club. This is something that I decided to join just to see what it was about and see if I could maybe connect up with other people that I could still glean information from. Currently, they do a lot of events on the weekend, and us as retired people, we don't like to get out in crowds on the weekend, so I prefer to do things during the week. So just if you're interested, online you can look them up and maybe join in on some of their things. What I do mainly is a trail ambassador position within the club, and it's just a volunteer ambassador type thing. And we go, and what I mainly do is I go to base camp that's located at Amicalola State Park, and I sign in through hikers. They're starting their through hikes in Georgia in hopes of making the Appalachian Trail through hike all the way to Maine. So it's been real interesting. I've served 3 or 4 days this year doing that. Also, I'm a member of a trail family, which is called a Tramily. We have about 4 or 5 people that we go and backpack with out on the Appalachian Trail. We started at Amicalola, and we did the approach trail, and then we just section hiked and added a little bit more mileage, and now I am up to about 160 miles up near the border of the Smokies. There's a lot of planning that goes on with that. That part I enjoy. Some people would just rather just get out on trail and hike, and I understand that. But when you do go out on trail, of course, you need to be aware of what you're getting yourself into. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that. I've also done the 55 miles within Bent Tree, which means you've done more than 55 miles. Because you will leave your house and go out and turn around and come back, and sometimes you'll get a ride and get dropped off and hike home, whatever way you want to do it. But you'll guaranteed if you cover every road in Bent Tree, you will have done more than 55 miles. What I did was I just got a map out of the directory, and I would highlight when I finished a road, and then I'd take a picture of it before I went back out there, because it doesn't look like that when you get out there. That's just a little bit of a guide. So you need a picture of where you've been and where you need to go. So I just did that with my phone, okay? Our Bent Tree Club membership is open to everyone. All you have to do is just let me or Dick or any member know your email address, or just email our email address, and we'll put you on the group email so that you will be aware of the monthly events that we have. In September, we come together and we bring ideas to the table, and we design a calendar for the next year, which means we get someone to volunteer to lead that hike, and we just put it on a calendar and we go from there. These are 2 of the events that we have done. On the left is Sharp Top Mountain, which is right in outside of our gate. That is a private piece of property owned by Sharp Top Cove, and you need to get permission from them and sign a release from them in order to do that trail. But it does give you a wonderful view of Jasper. On the right is Yonah Mountain. That's at the top there. I'm not real sure what town that is underneath, but it was beautiful. Again, the Georgia Appalachian Trail Club, part of their purpose is to maintain the management of the section of trail in Georgia. There's 14 states along this trail, and normally each state has their own trail club that maintains their section. They also encourage conservation and education, and there's just a lot of groups that you can join in with. They also have education workshops if you want to become a trail maintainer, or you need wilderness first aid, anything of that nature. They can connect you up with it. Of course, their big focus is Leave No Trace. Excuse me. There's 7 principles that come along with Leave No Trace. And just as some statistics, working base camp, we're putting on, in about 3 months on the Appalachian Trail, we are putting on about 4,000 hikers in Georgia. And that has a huge impact on the trail itself. So Leave No Trace, what we try to do at base camp, we try to remind them of Leave No Trace, and we try to give them a strategy as to how to start their hike. But anyway, planning and preparing ahead of time going on your hike is very important. You need to know where you're going, and you need to know what it's going to be like when you get there, and you need to know how to get back home. So that's principle number 1. Of course, you can use maps, paper maps. There are also some things on your phone, some apps on your phone that you can use to help you plan. Always tell someone where you're going and what time to expect you back. That's just kind of, in my mind, it's a courtesy to our family once you're out there. Travel and camp on durable surfaces. Don't make new trails, don't do shortcuts. Stay on the trail as much as possible to keep the trail from eroding. Dispose of your waste properly. Whatever you pack into a trail, whatever you carry on yourself, you must take back out. And of course, if you see some additional litter or whatever, it would be helpful to pack that out as well. Leave what you find. I was bad about, in the beginning, bringing home a rock everywhere I went. Not that I would recognize where I got that rock later, but I thought about it after I learned leave no trace. You need to leave the rocks where they are. You need to leave the flowers where they are. I see Dara over there shaking her head. You just need to leave it as natural as what you had found it when you saw it. Minimize campfire impacts. We've already had on the trail, we had some campfires at night, jump the fire rings and start a fire near Unicorn Gap. I think I read in the news the other day, Gatlinburg or some area over there is dealing with wildfires. So this time of year is not even a good idea to build a campfire. Respect wildlife. We have the idea that we want to protect ourselves from harm from animals, but what we really need to think about is how do we protect them from us. Okay, if you take that approach, it gives you a little bit different perspective, I think. One of the things that they mentioned to us, how close do you get to an animal? Well, there's this thumb test. You hold your thumb up, and you point it at the animal, say it's a bear, and you close an eye, and if you can see any part of that bear around your thumb, you're too close. Okay? So give those bears a thumbs up next time. Be considerate. Also be considerate of other visitors. We like to go out there and we like to, enjoy the nature and not be hearing blaring music and all that. So don't blare your music when you're out there. Also, there is one etiquette. If you're climbing, if you're on a trail and someone is climbing the part of the trail, you need to get off and let them climb past you. That's the little bit of etiquette there. Dara also mentioned a good practice that you should think about. After hiking, clean your boots and your shoes and clean your pets, of course, your equipment, and that will help prevent the spread of invasive seeds. One of the apps that I have used is All Trails. You can get a free version, download on your phone, or you can pay for one and it'll give you a lot better numbers of maps and things of that nature. What I did, I just opened it up, and then the next slide or the next section in the middle shows you where can I go, and it gives you a suggestion as what is nearby you, what trails are out there. Also, there is a formerly called Gut Hook app. It's now called Far Out. You can purchase maps. I purchased the whole map of the Appalachian Trail, and what it does is it's GPS run, and it can track you while you're on trail. You can see yourself moving down the trail. It also has a place for comments, and you can look through the comments to see if the water source is still there or if it's gone or whatever. I have used, or not I, but we have used All Trails before when we got off trail and didn't know we were off trail. And we had to find our way back to the trail. We just watched ourselves on that little app, that little dot, and we moved in a certain direction and we headed back towards the trail. And sometimes, the one time I used it, it wasn't really my fault that I got lost, but the trail had grown over. It was a trail that had not been used very much, and all of a sudden the trail disappeared. So I encourage you to have a map or have the knowledge of a GPS app for your use to help you stay on trail. Before you go out, there's some things that probably you need to consider. On the left, I use a little GPS system. It's called a Garmin InReach Mini. I subscribe to their plan. You can turn that plan on and off as you need it. I think you pay for about a month at a time, and then when several months go by and you're not going to hike, you can suspend that membership. It's not my favorite piece of equipment, but it does work when it wants to. When you have a clear sky, it likes to connect that way. Sometimes my cell phone will connect and this little fellow won't connect. So between the two, sometimes you feel like you've got a connection to the outside world. You do have preset text messages that you can send, and normally I send to my husband and other family members. I send a starting point through that and an ending point, and I just kind of let them know, we're at camp or whatever. And it will actually, I think, I've never looked at it, but I think my husband can open up a map and see where I am, okay? It can track me as well, but I think that costs, and, I'm pretty cheap, so I'm not going to turn that feature on. One of the biggest hazards on trail are ticks. Most of you know, especially if you have animals and live in Bent Tree, that is something that we deal with a lot. And what I have used is I've pre-treated my clothing, meaning I don't wear my clothes and spray it, but I have my clothes out on the deck and I spray it with this permethrin. And I only spray the outer parts. I spray shoes, I spray backpacks, I spray socks, whatever. And this will repel and kill mosquitoes, ticks, and chiggers. Okay? So it's just another way of dealing with some of the things on trail that you're liable to pick up.
What's the name of it?
It's permethrin. 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 And you as a gardener, you probably could, spray down too. I remember on the 55-mile trek through Bent Tree, I had to step off the skinny road to let the car go by and got back on the asphalt and kept walking, and in a minute I felt something on my legs and I had 2 ticks. And I bet I wasn't off for 15 seconds. So you know how the ticks are. I am a fan of wool blend socks. If you can, stay away from cotton. Cotton is not your friend when you're sweaty. These will breathe and they will dry out pretty quick. Before I put on my socks, I put these funny little toe socks on. These are sock liners made by Ingingy. So I'll put these on top of them. And so far, no blisters, none at all. Also, I use trail runner shoes. I don't use hiking boots or stiff sole boots. That's just me. I find them to be too heavy for me. But these are pretty flexible, so I can kind of feel where I'm going, and I can kind of wrap around something if I'm climbing. They also have this large toe box. I need plenty of room for my toes, and I also buy these shoes about a size larger than what I normally wear so that I have plenty of room. And in order to keep my foot from slipping, because the shoes are bigger, I'll use a heel lock on the shoelaces up at the top. And if you're interested in that, I can show you that later. Also, I started using some gaiters. These are made by Ultra as well. And they just hook onto your shoe in the front on the shoelaces and Velcro on the back. They cover over the opening of the top of the shoe so that you don't get rocks and debris inside your shoe. Okay? Some things like that will cause a lot of foot issues. Something I learned to use that I had never used before and didn't think I'd ever need to use are trekking poles. But now they're my best friend. Okay? Spend a lot of time with them. My balance some days is not the best, and having 2 sticks to help me balance has been very, very helpful. It will not stop you from falling all the time, but a lot of times it will. Okay. The best way I can describe the length that you're supposed to have is a right angle. But the trail's not always flat, so you sometimes need it longer when you're going downhill, and sometimes you need it shorter when you're going uphill. So sometimes I'm too lazy and I just use whatever I got, okay, and I just keep on going. But trekking poles I really would recommend. There are some rubber covers that you can put on them if you're going to road walk. And it also gives you a nice workout with your arms. Water. Water is very important. I can tell a difference if I drink enough water. I'm not real good about watering up before I leave and get on trail, but once I get on trail, I get pretty thirsty. I would suggest that you water up before you go and during and afterwards. Hydration, especially at our age, is a big deal. You can get your energy from water, or you can lose your energy from lack of water. So I just encourage you to hydrate. When you're out on a trail, don't drink the water that you find in the creek without filtering it, because it has a lot of bacteria and things of that nature. Out on trail, we use what is called a Sawyer squeeze. We take a bag, scoop up the water, attach the filter to the bottom, and squeeze it into a bottle. You can also just screw this filter on top of a smart water bottle and just collect your dirty water in the bottle, and then you can drink through the filter. This filter has a membrane inside of it, so if you're backpacking and sleeping out in the cold weather at night, you'll need to put this in the sleeping bag with you, because it will freeze and then it will not be, it will not work like it should. Most of you have heard of Grandma Gatewood. I guess this is one of the first books I ever read about hiking, and what an inspiration. When she did the Appalachian Trail the first time, she's exactly my age. And I don't know, I'm sure she was a strong woman. I don't know what her background, I can't remember exactly if she was a hiker prior to this. But let me just read you a little bit of information about this story. Emma Gatewood told her family she was going on a walk and left her small Ohio hometown with a change of clothes and less than $200. The next anybody heard from her, this genteel, farm-reared, 67-year-old great-grandmother had walked 800 miles along the 2,050-mile Appalachian Trail. By September of 1955, she stood atop Maine's Mount Katahdin and sang America the Beautiful, and proclaimed, "I said I'd do it, and I've done it." Grandma Gatewood not only hiked the trail alone using a knapsack and wearing kids, but she was the first person, man or woman, to walk it twice, and the first to walk it 3 times. At age 71, she hiked the 2,000-mile Oregon Trail along with many other trails. So this gives me hope. I hope it gives you hope that my trail days are not over yet, that maybe I'm just beginning like her. So I encourage you to get out there and hike your own hike. And remember, we don't stop hiking because we get old. We get old because we stop hiking. Thanks.
Wow. Are y'all inspired?
Yes.
Me too. Let's see. Okay, so thank you, Laurel. Thank you, Jan, and to Patrick for talking to us about places in Bent Tree and around Bent Tree that we can get out and enjoy nature and get our exercise. So that's really good information. So before we leave today, I want to remind you to sign in if you haven't over here on the table so we know who's here. Sign up for all of the things that Marietta and Luann told you about. You know, when Laurel was talking about the trail committee and said we maintain the trails, this is we. We are we. There's not another group of people out there, right? It's all of us who show up on those days to maintain the trails and do the work of Lake and Wildlife. So really appreciate your engagement and involvement. So sign up. We have a little bit of a treasure hunt here today around the room. You'll find some Easter eggs, some candy, and some plastic Easter eggs. If you find one, they're hidden around the room. They have a prize in there related to Tamarack treasures. So before you leave, take a look around, see what you see, and take it with you. And thanks for coming today. So we'll see you next month.
So